Tonight, let's start with one uncomfortable idea. You are not experiencing the present. Not exactly. What you call now is already gone. By the time you notice it, it has already happened. And the strange part is, your brain knows this. It is built this way, on purpose, because reality arrives late. This episode isn't about philosophy. It's about the quiet engineering inside your nervous system, the design that keeps you safe, stable, and surprisingly calm, even though it means you are always a little behind. So here is the question we'll stay with tonight. If your brain is always late, how does life feel so immediate? How does the world feel continuous, smooth, and real? To answer that, we need to stop imagining perception as a window. Because perception is not a window. Perception is a construction, a beautifully controlled delay. Let's build the idea slowly. Right now, as you listen, your ears are collecting vibration. Your eyes are collecting light. Your skin is collecting pressure. Your body is collecting position. And none of those signals arrive at the same time. Sound arrives fast, but it still takes time. Light arrives fast, but your brain still needs to process it. Touch is immediate, but your brain still needs to locate it. And your body position is constantly being updated. So the now you experience cannot be raw input, because raw input is messy, asynchronous, and incomplete. Instead, your brain does something extraordinary. It waits, just long enough to gather the signals. Then it stitches them into a single moment, a single scene, a single continuous now. This is your first quiet wow moment. The present you feel is an edited version. Not fake, not wrong, just delayed and assembled. Now, let's make this feel real. Imagine a lightning strike far away. You see the flash first, and the thunder arrives later. That's obvious. You accept it. But here is the hidden version that happens constantly. The delay is not seconds. It is milliseconds. Small enough to ignore, large enough to matter. Because your brain is not only reacting, it is predicting. It is always guessing what will happen next, so it can hide the delay. This is the secret trick. Prediction is the bridge. Your brain uses prediction to make a delayed world feel immediate. So you don't live in the present. You live in a controlled illusion of the present, a simulation that is accurate enough and fast enough to feel real. Now, why would the brain do this? Why not just show reality the instant it arrives? Because if it did, your experience would be unstable, jittery, fragmented, and exhausting. Your consciousness would feel like bad internet, lag, glitches, frames that don't match. So instead, your brain buffers reality, just like streaming video. It waits a tiny moment to make the experience smooth. This is not a metaphor. It is very close to the truth. There is a small window of time where signals are gathered, aligned, and merged. And that means your awareness is always looking at the world a fraction of a second late. Now, here comes the part that really hooks the mind. If you are always late, then what is now? Is now a point or a range? The answer is quietly surprising. Your brain does not experience a single instant. It experiences a short slice, a small span that feels like a point. So now is not a needle. It is a soft brushstroke. And this brushstroke is what makes life feel continuous. Your brain smooths the world, not because the world is smooth, but because you need it to be. Now let's make this even more personal. If you clap your hands, you feel the impact, you hear the sound, you see the motion. But those signals arrive on different schedules, and yet you experience one clean event, a single clap. That unity is constructed, and the construction requires delay. Now, there is a deeper reason this matters, because this delay shapes your sense of self. Your feeling of, I am here, I am doing this, I chose this. All of that depends on timing. Your brain is constantly deciding, did I cause that, or did it happen to me? Did I intend that, or did I only notice it? And this is where the story becomes quietly mind-blowing. Sometimes the brain's timing is slightly off, not broken, just shifted. And when timing shifts, you get strange experiences. The world feels unreal, or too sharp, or delayed. You feel like you are watching yourself instead of being yourself. This is why understanding delay is not just interesting. It is comforting, because it explains why certain feelings happen without turning them into mystery. Now, let's stay grounded. How late are you? How far behind reality is your conscious now? The exact number depends on the study and on the situation. But here is the safe truth. Your brain needs time to build the moment. And that time is enough that it must be hidden. So the brain hides it with prediction. It predicts the next frame based on the last frame. It fills in motion. It stabilizes edges. It creates continuity. And most of the time, it works perfectly, so you never notice. But occasionally, you catch the seam. A moment where you realize your awareness is following, not leading. In part 2, we'll go deeper into the most fascinating question. If the brain predicts the present, what happens when prediction is wrong? What does a wrong guess feel like? Why do some moments feel delayed, or surreal, or oddly familiar? Not déjà vu, not memory, just prediction missing by a fraction. And in part 3, we'll bring it to the calmest conclusion. Why living slightly in the past is not a problem, why it's a feature, and why this design might be one of the reasons you can relax and fall asleep. For now, just hold this one sentence gently. Your brain is always a little late, but it uses prediction to make the world feel perfectly on time. Let's continue. All right, part 2. This is where the idea becomes real, because now we talk about what happens when prediction is wrong. Not wildly wrong, not everything breaks, just slightly wrong, by a fraction, by a few milliseconds. And that tiny mismatch is enough to change how reality feels. Because your brain is always doing two jobs. Job 1, predict what's next. Job 2, correct the prediction. Most of your calm comes from the fact that these two jobs usually agree. Prediction says, this is what's about to happen. Reality arrives and says, yes, close enough. So your mind stays smooth and continuous. But sometimes, for a moment, prediction and reality do not line up. And when they don't, you don't always notice it as an error. You notice it as a feeling. A strange feeling, like something is slightly delayed, or slightly too sharp, or slightly unreal, or like you are watching your life instead of being inside it. Tonight, we're going to explain those feelings gently, because they're not supernatural and they're not random. They are the brain showing you the seam. Let's start with the simplest kind of mismatch: timing. Your brain aligns signals, sound, vision, touch, movement. But alignment is not perfect. It's a constant negotiation. Here is a quiet wow moment. Your brain sometimes changes the timing on purpose to make the world feel stable. It will delay one signal to match another, so you don't notice that they arrive differently. This is why movies work. A movie is not continuous reality. It's frames with gaps, but your brain fills the gaps so it feels smooth. Your perception does the same thing. It fills, it smooths, it stabilizes. Now, what happens when stabilization fails? Not completely, just briefly. You feel it as a lag, as if the world is a half step behind, or you are. This is often called, in everyday language, brain lag. But the deeper idea is, prediction is missing its target. Now let's make this tangible. Have you ever reached for a cup, and for a split second, your hand feels slightly off? Not clumsy, just mistimed. Or have you ever looked at something familiar and it felt strange? Like the room is correct, but the feeling is wrong. That's not imagination. It's a timing mismatch between perception and interpretation. Because perception has stages. Stage 1, raw sensation. Stage 2, pattern detection. Stage 3, meaning. Stage 4, this is happening to me now. If stage 4 arrives before stage 3 fully settles, you can get a strange clarity without comfort. You see, but you don't feel inside. That is the seam. Now, there is another kind of prediction error, and it's the one most people never think about. Motion prediction. Your brain constantly predicts your own movement, so the world doesn't smear. When you move your head, your eyes shift, your body sways. Your brain predicts that and cancels it, so the world feels stable. If your brain didn't do this, every step would feel like chaos. The world would shake and blur. So your brain uses an internal model. It says, I'm about to move, so it adjusts perception before the movement finishes. Here is another wow moment. You see the world as stable because your brain subtracts your own motion. That's why you don't feel seasick constantly. But if that motion prediction is slightly off, reality can feel unreal. Not because the world changed, because the stabilizer missed by a fraction. Now let's talk about the feeling of unreality, because people describe it in many ways. Everything looks too crisp. Everything feels distant. I feel like I'm watching myself. The world feels slightly staged. These descriptions are common, and the science behind them is often about prediction mismatch and nervous system state. When you are tired, your prediction becomes less accurate. When you are stressed, your correction becomes more sensitive. When you are overstimulated, your attention becomes narrow. So the brain's normal smoothing becomes unstable, and you feel the seam. Now, let's stay calm here, because feeling the seam does not mean danger. It usually means your brain is working harder with fewer resources. This is why these moments happen at night. Late hours reduce resources. Your brain is still constructing reality, but your system is less buffered, so your awareness becomes more likely to catch the construction process. Now, we need to introduce the most important principle of this whole episode, and that explains why you rarely notice the lag. Prediction hides delay. Your brain doesn't wait, then show you reality. It predicts the next instant, then corrects it. So you feel immediate life, even though you're delayed. But here comes a powerful question. If prediction hides delay, what happens when prediction must choose between two options? When the world is ambiguous? When the next moment could be one of several things? Your brain creates a best guess, and that best guess becomes your experience until correction arrives. This is why perception can be confident and then suddenly update. You think you saw something, then realize you didn't. You feel a shape in the dark, then light reveals it's a coat. Those moments are not you being silly. They are the brain doing its job. Guess first, confirm second. Now, let's make this even more personal. If you are walking at night and you see movement at the edge of your vision, your brain will often interpret it as a living thing before it interprets it as wind. Because that is the safe bias. Safe bias means your brain is designed to prefer false alarms over missed threats. So the prediction system has a personality. It's cautious, especially at night, especially alone, especially tired. Now, here is a calm but mind-opening wow moment. The present you experience is not the same as the present your senses receive. Your conscious now is the brain's best stabilized guess, and that guess is always slightly late. So why doesn't life feel delayed all the time? Because your brain predicts forward and corrects quietly. But if prediction becomes less accurate or correction becomes delayed, you feel it as lag, as unreality, as the seam showing. In part 3, we will close the loop. We'll answer the final calming question. If we live slightly in the past, why is that actually good? Why is it protective? Why does it make sleep possible and not impossible? And we'll end with something gentle, a way to understand the feeling so your mind doesn't turn it into fear. For now, hold this sentence softly. You feel now because your brain predicts and smooths, and you notice the lag only when prediction and reality briefly disagree. Let's continue. Part 3. This is where we finish the idea and make it calming. Because once you understand this, the topic stops feeling unsettling and starts feeling strangely comforting. Here is the quiet truth. If your brain showed you reality instantly, with no smoothing, no buffering, no prediction, you would not feel peace. You would feel chaos. The world would be too sharp, too fast, too fragmented. Every tiny delay between senses would split your experience. Sound would not match sight. Touch would not match motion. Your own body would feel slightly out of sync. So the brain does something kind. It creates a stable now. Not perfect, but usable and safe. This is not a flaw. It is one of your greatest protections. Because the real enemy of calm is not darkness and not uncertainty. It is instability. The brain's buffering system is a stability machine. It smooths edges, fills gaps, and keeps your world coherent. So you can function, so you can make decisions, so you can relax. Now let's make the unknown part feel real, without making it scary. Because this stability system is not one single thing. It is many small systems working together so quietly you almost never notice them. For example, your brain does time binding. It takes moments that arrive slightly apart and binds them into one event, a single clap, a single footstep, a single sentence. Even though your ears, your eyes, your skin, and your muscles all send their messages at slightly different speeds. And here is a wow detail most people don't know. Your brain is constantly deciding what counts as now. Not by a clock, but by a window. A small window of time where different signals are allowed to arrive and still be treated as one moment. This window is not always the same. It can widen when you are tired. It can narrow when you are alert. It can shift when you are stressed. So sometimes you don't just feel delayed. You feel misgrouped, as if the pieces of the moment belong together, but your brain placed them in slightly different folders. That is one quiet way the seam becomes visible. Not because reality changed, but because the binding window changed. And this leads to another calming truth. When you notice the seam, it is not proof that something is wrong. It is proof that you are noticing the editing. Here is a powerful wow moment. Your sense of reality is not a raw feed. It is a carefully edited experience. And that editing is what makes life feel livable. Now let's talk about why prediction is needed. Because the world is moving all the time. Your eyes move, your head moves, your body shifts. Light changes, sound changes, objects move. If your brain reacted only after everything arrived, you would always feel late. So it predicts ahead. Prediction is not guessing wildly. It is a calculated expectation built from pattern, memory, and context. This is why you can catch a falling object. By the time your eyes fully process the motion, the object would already be lower. So your brain predicts where it will be and guides your hand there. But here is the lesser-known part. Your brain doesn't just predict objects. It predicts you. It predicts your next movement, your next step, your next blink, your next breath shift. So it can cancel out the noise you create. Because you are not a camera. You are a moving creature. And if the brain didn't cancel your movement, the world would feel unstable, like a shaky handheld video, all day long. So your brain runs a constant correction. It subtracts your own motion from the scene. This is one reason your room looks still, even while your eyes jump around. And here is a calm, wow detail. Your eyes do not glide smoothly. They jump, tiny jumps called saccades, many times each second. And during those jumps, your brain partially suppresses awareness, so you don't experience a blur of chaos. Meaning, there are micro moments where your consciousness is dimmed on purpose, not because you're broken, but because the brain is protecting continuity. So when we say your experience is edited, we mean it literally. The brain removes, adds, predicts, and corrects, all to give you a stable story. Now, this is where the feeling of pastness becomes clearer. You live efficiently because your brain lives slightly ahead, even while your awareness lives slightly behind. That is the balance. Body and action run forward. Conscious experience is assembled, and together, they feel like one smooth moment. But sometimes, when the system is under load, stress, sleep deprivation, overstimulation, or simply being in an unfamiliar place, the balance changes. The prediction becomes more aggressive, or the correction becomes less clean. And you notice not the whirl, but the stitching. And that stitching can feel eerie, because it reminds you that now is not a single point, it is a construction. So let's name one more unknown piece. The brain uses two streams of processing, a fast stream that helps you react, and a slower stream that helps you understand. The fast stream is not poetic, it is practical. It answers, where is it? Is it moving? Should I act? The slower stream answers, what is it? What does it mean? How do I feel about it? Most of the time, these streams align beautifully. You reach, and you feel you reached. You turn, and you feel you turned. You hear, and it feels synchronized. But when the streams desync, even slightly, you can feel like you are watching yourself, like you are half a step behind your own life. Not because you are unreal, but because the meaning stream arrived late. This is one reason some people describe unreality feelings during anxiety. They are not losing reality. They are losing synchronization. And now, here is the calm conclusion. You are not stuck in the past in a sad way. You are buffered in a protective way. Your awareness is slightly delayed, so your brain can give you stability. And stability is what allows rest. Because sleep requires trust, your nervous system must believe the world is coherent and predictable enough to let go. If perception were raw and jittery, sleep would be harder. So your brain smooths reality, and then it smooths you. Now let's connect this to late-night listening. At night, your brain has less external input, less light, less motion, less sound. So prediction becomes more noticeable. Your mind may feel like it's searching, like it's waiting. That's the buffer system, trying to build a stable now with fewer signals. And here's a detail that feels small, but matters. In low light, your vision becomes noisier. Your brain has to guess more. When it guesses more, it corrects more. When it corrects more, you may feel more seams. So the night can make reality feel slightly thinner. Not because it is, but because the brain is working harder to make it feel stable. This is why gentle structure helps. A calm voice, steady pacing, predictable rhythm. It gives the brain clean input, and clean input reduces prediction stress, which makes the buffer system relax, which makes you relax. Now, one more quiet wow moment. When you feel anxious, time can feel strange. Moments feel sharp or stretched or unreal. Often that isn't because time changed, it's because prediction and correction changed. Your brain is scanning, your buffer is tense, your smoothing becomes less smooth, so the seam becomes visible. And there's another subtle piece. When you are anxious, your attention narrows. You sample fewer details, but with more intensity. That can make the world feel both slower and less real. Because reality feels real when it is rich and continuous. And anxiety can make it thin and jagged. Understanding this is calming because it gives you a simple response. Not panic, not spiraling, just recognition. My brain is buffering. My system is predicting. My awareness is catching the seam. That's all. Now let's end with something practical, but still gentle. If you want to feel more present, you don't need to force it. You just need to give your brain clearer input. A small light, a stable sound, a steady breath, a slow movement. These reduce ambiguity, and the buffer settles. Here is an especially quiet trick. Choose one steady sensory anchor. A soft lamp, a fan hum, rain audio, or slow music, and let it stay constant. Because when one input is stable, the brain needs fewer corrections, and fewer corrections means fewer seams. Also, if you ever feel that thin reality feeling late at night, try naming 3 simple things: a shape, a temperature, a sound. Not to fix anything, but to feed the system, to give the buffer clean data so it can build a smoother now. So tonight, if the world feels slightly unreal, or slightly delayed, or strangely sharp, you can remember, this is not danger. This is design. A protective delay, creating a stable now. And that stable now is what lets your mind soften and drift. So we can finish with one quiet sentence. You are always a little late, because your brain is giving you peace. Good night, and thank you for staying curious.